This is the end of the beginning. Welcome to today's show. It's an important show. You're going to want to share this with others and get this information out and let them use their brain and critically think for themselves about direct energy weapons and what we saw in Maui. There are way too many things that are not coincidences, such as them demanding smart cities be set up, Hawaii saying that they're the most green state in the country, 100% running on green energy, having a meeting there this year in January in 2023, talking about setting up a smart city, celebrities buying up all the land over there. Conveniently, none of their properties were destroyed at all during this. And of course, what I'm about to show you with the air balloon, wink, wink, and the green lasers that were flying over Maui and mapping them back in January. Before I get into that, I just want to let everybody know that I do have a Patreon. Anyone out there wants to support this work, obviously, I appreciate everybody who is here. It's just a way you can support the channel. I've been here, I'm a new YouTuber, wink, wink, but obviously I've been thrown around YouTube probably worse than anybody in the history of YouTube. So one of the ways you can support the work of this channel, if you think it's worthwhile, please consider doing so now. The link is below or after the video. And I do have two backup channels. Please make sure, at the very least, that you subscribe to these now. I'm one strike away from a 2-week ban, 2 strikes away from termination. Any one of these videos that I've done in the last few days could easily get my channel terminated. So if you want more of my content, please help me build those channels out. I need more views. I have to get reviewed and submitted. It's a real process most of you don't know about, but it's a nightmare, but it's worth doing to get the truth out here. And again, I do it here on YouTube because I know the majority is the #1 viewed website, okay? There's a lot of young kids out there, a lot of teens, the ones that they're targeting, the ones that they're brainwashing that need to hear truth. So I'm staying here trying to help wake those people up. Obviously, BitChute and Rumble and those places are places where everybody who's awake, they're already over there. They're over there just so they don't have to go through what I'm going through here. Okay, so they're over there being able to upload, not having to do, extra videos or say things that they can't say, et cetera, et cetera. I go through the extra effort here on YouTube to try to get the truth out, to help this movement. And this movement would be getting truth out and awakening the youth out there. And of course, that all leads and ties into what I'm about to tell you. So, you may recall that whole psyop that went down with the balloons, the satellite balloons. Well, let's tie all this stuff together and look at it from a perspective of common sense, right? Common sense, that thing that doesn't seem to exist anymore. Let's start with what we saw in January. You might recall what I'm about to show you, these green lasers that appeared over the islands. And people were just like, whoa, is it a light show? Am I at Six Flags? Yeah, am I at Disney World? It's the nighttime laser show in the sky? No, of course it wasn't. Most people who have common sense would know that they were mapping, right? They were mapping the land area, looking at specific targets. And of course, this all ties in with direct energy weapons. But here's a clip, the only clip that was made by any news outlet out there. Of course, they were somewhat deflecting about what it really was they saw in the sky, of course, because they want you to think that these types of things come from the boogeyman, Russia, China, etc. They don't want you to realize that it comes from your homeland, your own government, comes from NATO, comes from the global government. They're all working together, including the United States, to destroy our way of life, and they need to bring America to its knees. So here's the clip from the news that aired back in January.
Now to a very unusual sight captured on camera. Japanese and local astronomers say a Chinese satellite was recently seen beaming down green lasers over the islands. This video captured atop the Subaru telescope on Mauna Kea, operated by the National Astronomical Observatory of Japan. Bryce Moore has the story.
The lasers flash for just a couple seconds. Initially thought to be from a NASA altimeter satellite, the Japanese put out a correction note on Monday saying NASA scientists found a most likely candidate as the ACDL instrument by the Chinese Daki-1 AEMS satellite. I went to a University of Hawaii astronomer who read up on AEMS instruments.
It's a Chinese satellite that is measuring pollutants, among other things. It has many different instruments on it, some kind of topographical mapping, or they're also used for measuring stuff in the Earth's atmosphere. And I think that's what it is. It's an environmental measurement satellite.
I also sat down with the former chief of staff of Marine Forces Pacific. He had some questions.
I'm not sure, this is my opinion, why the Chinese, who are probably some of the most prolific polluters on the planet, would be collecting data on pollutants on this side of the Pacific.
Both experts say this isn't explicitly a spy satellite. It is cataloged and known by governments around the world.
The U.S. has satellites that do the same thing. So in this case, despite all of the flurry, well-deserved flurry about Chinese spy satellites and other devices, this one is just orbiting Earth and has a known orbit.
The footage was taken January 28th, before the recent incident where a Chinese balloon traversed over the mainland U.S. before being shot down off the coast of South Carolina. Which brings the question, how much is the Chinese military seeing?
They can shut down any communication nodes that they want if they believe that, I think, the public is getting too much information. So, yeah, I think it's more probably military than anything else. That's makes sense.
I had to ask,
is this a risk to locals, to Hawaii?
No, it's not a risk to Hawaii or any place else. We have aircraft making these kind of measurements all the time. If you've seen topographical maps with high precision, those are made using sometimes this kind of thing.
It seems to me that those tensions are there. People are a little antsy, and I think we just need to be a little bit more aware, vigilant.
I reached out to the United States Space Force to see how often Chinese satellites scan Hawaii airspace and if there's been an explanation from China. Officials are working on getting me a response, and we'll bring that to you as soon as we hear back. Bryce Moore, KHON2 News, working for Hawaii.
So, no big deal, right? Nobody's worried about that. They're like, is it an alien? Is it Independence Day? Is Will Smith going to fly out of Uranus and come down and we're going to go punch an alien in the mouth? I mean, what do people think this stuff actually is if they don't realize that it's military operations, right? Including UFOs, by the way. Okay, all of this stuff is done by your own government. So after that, right, what ends up happening conveniently? We find out that it's quote unquote Chinese spy balloons, right? And what did America do that drove everyone nuts? They let the balloons fly across the entire country. Now, most of us looked at that who were awake and said this is a psyop in a sense, because we know that the balloons don't really belong to China because China is America. I mean, all the countries are working together, right? So for those of you that don't know what the balloons do, well, here's a clip from NATO's own webpage, because NATO has no problem admitting, even though they're supposed to just be a group with of countries who align together and it's for the betterment of humanity. And oh yeah, well, they have this technology, which isn't hard to have. It's obviously not some type of you have to be a rocket scientist to have this type of technology, but really this is NATO talking about why they would use this and why they would scan and try to get topographic maps of all the land.
This week, we're soaring up to the stratosphere to get a good look at the Earth. Here's our scientist with more.
When we need to take a look at a large area quickly, a disaster like a forest fire or flooding, we have limited and often expensive options. An aircraft can only fly up to 18,000 meters above the ground and has a limited viewing window, and it costs a lot in fuel and preparation. A satellite is another option, but we have to wait until it's in the right position over the Earth, not to mention the expense. High-altitude balloons are low-cost and rapidly deployable compared to aircraft or satellites. When we pair them with an imaging system, we can quickly look at an area of up to hundreds of square kilometers within hours. The balloon can be launched by hand and soar to a height of 20 to 40 kilometers. They're pushed by constant and regular stratospheric winds on a straight trajectory, so we can be very sure of their direction of travel.
But how can a balloon take pictures of what's happening on the ground?
What makes our system really innovative is a technology called synthetic aperture radar, or SAR. Here's how it works. A normal radar needs a very large antenna to get a high-resolution image, not practical for a balloon. But SAR uses a composite of many low-resolution images taken rapidly within a certain time to build up a larger, high-resolution image. We can even get the system back with an auto-deploying parachute combined with a GPS that enables us to recover the radar. This project is a first step towards equipping the system with a data link so we can get real-time pictures from our eye in the sky.
Next episode, we'll take you to Montenegro to see a technology that could help responders save lives across borders. Check out the rest of the videos in the series to learn more about NATO science.
Right? So then you have them, you have the spy balloons, right? And then they come out and like I talked about back then, those videos are obviously long deleted, but I discussed over and over about, look at the reaction that people had to the spy balloons. They were putting it on Saturday Night Live. Like they were making light of something that would be a uniting issue for liberals and Republicans, right? As Americans to team together and say, hey, this isn't good. We shouldn't be giving out maps of, what's going on our naval bases. We shouldn't be letting them record it, film it, do topographic maps of it, et cetera, et cetera. But everyone made light of it. And then, of course, we eventually, we blew it up over water, and they told us it was because they didn't want to blow it up over the land because, that might hurt a civilian, even though they were flying in the middle of, Montana where there weren't civilians for hundreds of miles. No big deal, right? They have no problem killing us off with other things, but they didn't want a satellite to fall on anyway. No, they wanted it to fly across of America, all of America's, and all the places. And these are places we should all be looking at on the map, or at least where we think that they went. Now, it's hard to figure out where these things actually were. You probably would be better off going through old Twitter and old uploads, even TikToks of people who recorded these things in their backyard, seeing it up in the sky, because what the government tells us in the mainstream media isn't the actual route that this thing took. But one has to wonder, all the places that it flew over, if those were places that they were using topographic maps for. And why would they do that? Why would they need those types of maps? Well, for something that looks like this, a direct energy weapon where they could do something like, blow up a plane without even seeing anything come out of the laser, right? You'll see in a second, I'll play you the clips where they're talking about this and how great it is and how much energy it uses and how it can microwave. And nobody puts it together how they could just easily start fires with something like this. And then they go, well, why would they do that? Well, I don't know. Are you suspicious of all the land grabs the celebrities are doing out there? That the government's doing, how they're rolling in FEMA, and how sooner or later they're going to tell us that the land in Maui is uninhabitable? And they're going to tell you that you can't live. I mean, there's clearly something going on here, ladies and gentlemen. This isn't the boogeyman over in China who's just decided, hey, we want to burn Maui because, we don't like the fact that they have great beaches and hotels. There's something going on here, and it's against the United States of America. And your own government is enabling it because they hate you, liberal or Republican. Here's a look at the direct energy weapon.
Operationally, it works just like a laser pointer. There's a chamber inside with special materials that release photons.
If you're looking at a boat coming in over the water, you can target exactly the engine and take out exactly the engine and not necessarily damage anything else. So, and that type of precision weapon work is something that you don't really get with conventional weapons because there tends to be more collateral damage.
It's useful against a variety of threats, surface or air. It's not a niche weapon system like some other weapons that we have, throughout the military, where it's only good against air contacts or it's only good against surface targets.
So now, you think about these things, and you say, well, what are they going to do there? I know I've talked about the smart cities being put in, okay? And that is obviously something that looks pretty obvious at this point. I mean, like I said earlier, they had the meeting in January of this year in Maui talking about developing a smart city, right? Well, how would they have developed a smart city without destroying someplace like Lahaina, right? I mean, that's pretty much, it's not a huge island. Lahaina, all small businesses, they don't want that there. Okay, those aren't businesses that are become smart businesses. The gift shops in downtown Lahaina aren't going to suddenly become, hey, you got to be it's a smart store and you got to pay with your palm and all this other crap. Of course not. They got to wipe them out. Just like all the people I talked about in a previous video, all the people who have been talking about for, leading up to this. Even in March, there was an article in the Daily Mail talking about how people and citizens in Maui were so upset about Oprah buying all this land and Mark Zuckerberg and Kauai buying all this land, and they were trying to protest them for colonizing the island, doing the things that they were trying to do. And nobody said boo. So we obviously know they want a smart city there. Other ideas and other things people have talked about is them bunkering down there, right? Because they know people are going to come from them. So even if they're in underground bunkers, I mean, they'll probably be easier to find in underground bunkers. Now, of course, they'll be protected by the military. At least some of these people will. But if all these celebrities, these billionaires are over on the islands, people will just forget about it. They'll be, oh, what are you going to do to get over there? You're going to fly United? That's going to be going on. You don't see those stories out there about flying, how they're sabotaging flying and traveling and stuff. They're not just doing that to, because they want to say, hey, the Biden administration's incompetent. Okay, they're letting you know, yeah, these people are incompetent. They're sabotaging the entire way of life that we have. So you're not going to charter a paddle boat either over to Maui. So they'll be pretty protected. So that is another possibility that they might just be looking to, bunker down over there. They don't need to go underground. And they probably have a defense system set up, and the military will be over there to protect them too. So there's many ideas around it. But one thing everybody should know is that there's no chance. There is zero chance that a wildfire started. They're talking about 36 mile per hour winds from a hurricane that nobody sees. Nobody even knows how the fire went out, right? Didn't it take weeks for the fire to go out in Canada? And that was amongst out in the middle of the wilderness. And this was in like a downtown, and they didn't really show anything. Am I the only one that's still wondering how did it go out? Because they didn't even tell us really how it started. Some people said Dora, but there was no rain. So how was it a hurricane? Oh, it's offshore hurricane. Oh, okay. So wind from an offshore hurricane. And then the people reporting on the ground, conveniently, right behind them are trees that didn't get burnt while everything else got burnt. And they're not even blowing. It doesn't even look like it's windy. Nobody's moving around. It's not like when you watch the Weather Channel, you see Jim Cantor falling on his face in the middle of a hurricane like an idiot. And you're going, why are these people standing in the middle of a hurricane? Oh, because they want to put it on the news. But nothing like that was going on in Maui. So these are all things that people should be thinking about, right? Now we know that they can blame these things. Climate change is here, not just it's here for a lot of reasons, okay? And it's not real, by the way. It's here to enslave us because the carbon footprint is enslavement. And that's what they want to do to the entire world. That's the New World Order. That's what it is. It's global imprisonment. And the prison is your home. You might say, who cares? Hey, I'm in my home. Oh, yeah. You'll care when you're in your home and your power's out for half the day. Or your power's out for weeks because they decide to cut it because you're not behaving properly, or they just don't like the way you smell. And you'll smell indeed because you won't be able to take showers either or flush the toilet. That's what this is going to be. And people are like, oh, you're ridiculous. Oh, yeah. You'll see. You'll see. And you've already enslaved yourself in your home with your smart technology. Because what do you think the NSA and the CIA and the DOJ and the FBI, what are all doing? They're all spying on you. And you're like, well, I don't care. They're wasting their time spying on me. What am I doing? Well, say something that goes against their agenda. Say something that goes against the current regime, right? Those are the seeds that they're putting out there. The thing that happened in Utah with Biden, these are all done by design. So we had the thing in January with the lasers in the sky over the island, and they poo-pooed it off, right? Looks like they were obviously getting a topographic map in place so that they could see the whole land area, right? Get all the geographic positions, the elevations, right? Everything they need to make sure when they do the direct energy weapon, they hit everything they want to hit, right? It wasn't like you don't just point the laser over and go, all right, they're sitting out at sea or they're flying up above them, like, there it is. Well, they wanted to hit every spot, right? So what did you hear after the fact? Every single home down. in a fire. Not one survived. Well, Oprah's did, of course, but that's not in the same area, so don't be suspicious of that. And Bezos's is safe too. They don't live amongst the riffraff in Lahaina. Give me a break, really? So they did the topographic mapping. They got all the geographic positions, all the locations, right? Of course, we see that NATO, hello, NATO, and even the Pentagon, like you see it on the screen in this video, the Pentagon's even doing it to us. They're telling us that they're sending these balloons up so that they can monitor us. Oh, they could find criminals, they say, and stuff like that by their license plates. And these things could, read your plates and all that stuff. And people are just not even blinking. Why would your own government be looking at you? Oh, they want to stop you from, look for a drug dealer. Oh, yeah, look at the border. Look at the CIA if you want to stop a drug dealer. Who do you think's behind all the drug trade? Has been for a long time. Ask George Bush. So all of that should make people suspicious, but it doesn't. And then the actual technology of a direct energy weapon, people just don't even blink, right? And how are they using, what are they using to deflect now? Oh, giant friggin' laser beams, right? Laser beams. Oh, all the predictive programming we've seen over the years with laser beams. From Dr. Evil to Superman's eyes, lasers, lasers, lasers. Nobody knew what they were, right? They thought it was some fictional thing. So then you hear the military has it. They can't even comprehend that or what they would want to do with it. Oh, well, we have this technology to protect us from Osama bin Laden. Is that what it is? Oh, right. He forgot, not him. Oh, who's it? Oh, Putin. Is that who it is today? Who's it tomorrow? Right? And another narrative not to forget is if they turn the script on this narrative and they say it wasn't climate change, which I doubt they will, because they need to convince people of climate change more than ever. And the more they say it, the more they repeat the lie, the more the suckers believe it and regurgitate the lie. But if they twist the narrative and they actually say that, oh, with the balloons and all that stuff, then they have the potential to start World War III because they'll blame it on China instead of blaming it, of course, on your own government. And that doesn't just mean Democrats. It means both Republicans and Democrats because they're all working together against us. You don't think those people are safe when crap hits the fan? You don't think there's a plan in place? They've been planning forever. There's bunkers under every building that these people walk in. They never walk the streets without, when they do, it's a show. When you see them out in public, they try to just make it like they're not underground already. I mean, it's an absolute joke. So people will still believe what they want to believe. And if you haven't seen, there's already articles and stuff out there from Newsweek, New York Times, already trying to deflect on the direct energy weapon, which tells you, like I said in a previous video as well, anytime you hear them talk about some of the stuff that we're talking about and deflecting, one, it's embarrassing on their end. They shouldn't even bring attention to it. But they do it because it works on the dumbest down people. It works on the brain dead because everything they regurgitate and talk about in life is just fed to them from the media. They don't have any thought of their own. Everything they like is because there's celebrities that they worship like it, or they're told by the TV to like it, right? They don't have any critical thought. So they need, by Newsweek doing this, Newsweek knows, hey, people like us are going to laugh at it and go, this is pathetic. But they know that the dumbed down just need to hear that from them. And then they go, oh, okay, because they believe everything they say is truth, even though these people are as corrupt as any humans that have ever walked the face of the earth. Again, a reminder, if you thought this video was good, please consider becoming a patron. It helps me make more content. And of course, I'm very grateful, even if you're not a patron, I appreciate everyone who's here and watches the videos. Thumbs up the videos or just leaves nice comments. That's always appreciated as well. Please do me a favor and sub to my other channels now if you haven't, especially Uprising Revival, specifically that one right now, because I already have an issue with the Eye for an Eye channel. I'm not saying don't sub to it. I have to figure out how to get around the issue. But now I got to build out the other one before I can even do anything on that one. Don't ask. It's a long story. Nobody cares. So please just do Uprising Revival now if you haven't. It's very important. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for being here. God bless all of you and your families.